Today we're going to be doing Module 3, Lesson 5, and now we are moving into subtracting fractions. So we've been doing adding fractions for a couple of lessons now, and we're going to switch it up just a little bit with subtraction, but we're pretty much going to be doing the same thing. So we are still going to be drawing two models, as you'll see on your notes. We're still going to be drawing these two models to show 1/2 and 1/3. And we are still going to make sure that our models have that common denominator so that they have the same amount of units. So just like the past few lessons, I'm going to make sure that both my models have been cut up the same so they have the same amount of parts so that they have the same denominator. So again, to do that, since this model was cut in half, I will cut this model in half, and since this model was cut into thirds, then this model should be cut into thirds. And now I created equivalent fractions, and I'm going to write those equivalent fractions down below. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 6, because there are 6 total parts, minus 2, 6. And now I can solve this problem. Now there are two ways that I can solve this problem. The first way that I can solve this problem is I can take a look at this model, and it says 3, 6 minus 2, 6. So I'm starting with 3, 6. I am taking away 2, 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross off or X out 2 boxes from this model, and then look at what I have left. So since I crossed off 2 boxes, what I'm left with is 1/6. Now also, if you can just do the math, you can also see that if I do 3 minus 2, that gives me 1. And just like adding, our denominator is going to stay the same. So my final answer for this problem would give me 1/6. Now, this model, what I'm going to make sure that I do is I don't cross anything off over here. This just tells me how much I have to cross off in this model. And this is where I do the crossing off and where I count and see what I have left over for my final answer. But with a lot of these problems, you'll probably be able to just do the math to help you out as well. So let's take a look at the next set of problems. So for this next set of problems, we are pretty much going to be doing the same thing. So I have 1/3 minus 1/4. Just like always, I'm going to draw the model to show what 1/3 looks like. I always start vertically, so I'll do that. And I'll shade in one part because I have 1 in my numerator. Then we're going to take a look at 1/4. And with 1/4 number, my second model, I always like to cut that horizontally. So I'll do that right now. And then I'll shade in 1/4 of that. After that, I need to make sure that both of my models are cut up exactly the same so that they have that common denominator. So since this one was cut into thirds, I'll cut this one into thirds. And since this one was cut into fourths, then I will cut this one into fourths. And now I need to write my equivalent fractions down below. So I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 twelfths. I know I have twelfths because I have 1, 2, 3 going across, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 going down. So 3 times 4 is 12. So I have 4 twelfths minus 1, 2, 3 minus 3 twelfths. And again, you probably can just do the subtraction in your heads. So I would just do 4 minus 3. I know that 4 minus 3 gives me 1. And then remember, we're not doing 12 minus 12. That's not what we're supposed to do here. We just leave our denominator the same for a final answer of 1/12. But I can also use the model to help me show my answer of 1/12. Remember, this second model right here, this shows us how many boxes I need to cross off. So if I have 3 boxes right here, that shows me that in this first model, I'm going to cross off 3 of my boxes. And when I cross off 3 of my boxes, what I'm left with is just 1 left over out of a total of 12 boxes. So that is how I can show my answer 1/12 using the model. And if it helps you, you probably have seen that I had 2 markers. If it helps you, you can use 2 different like colors to help you out. when you're drawing your models, because I know it can get a little bit difficult to see your work. We're going to take a look at part B now. So that was just part A of number 2, but let's take a look at part B now. So this one is a half minus a fifth. So just like always, I draw the model for this. So we cut this in half, I shade in 1/2, and then I cut this into fifths. And I shade in 1/5 of it. Now I need to cut these up into equal parts so that they each have a common denominator. So since I cut this one in half, I will cut this one in half just like this. And since I cut this one into fifths, then I'll also cut this one into fifths. So we go straight across. And then after that, I need to write my equivalent fractions on the line below. So over here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes shaded in out of a total of 10 boxes. So I know I have 10 because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I can count those out. And then I am subtracting 1, 2. I am subtracting 2/10. Now again, you could probably just do this math in your head. I have 5 minus 2. I know that 5 minus 2 is 3, and that gives me 3/10. But I also want to show my work with the model as well. So remember, our second model tells me how many boxes I need to cross off. I see that there are 2 boxes, so I'm going to cross off 2 boxes in this first model. I cross off 2 boxes in this first model, and then I count what I have left over. I have 1, 2, 3 boxes left over out of a total of 10 boxes, so that is why my final fraction, or my final answer, is 3/10, because I have 3 left over shaded out of a total of 10 boxes. So we just have 2 more problems to do for this lesson. It's not too bad so far. We're pretty much doing the exact same thing we did for the last 2 lessons. Except we are crossing off boxes instead of adding them up, and we are subtracting. So let's take a look at number 3. For number 3, we're going to change it up just a wee bit. We have 2/3 minus 1/4. For this model right here, I have to show 2/3, not just 1/3. So again, I start by drawing vertical lines, and I'm going to shade in 2 parts, not just 1, because I have 2/3. Then I need to show 1/4. So remember, drawing my lines horizontally, I show what 1/4 looks like, and I'll shade in just 1 part of that. I need to find that common denominator. So to do that, I'm going to make sure that both of my models look exactly the same. Since this one was split into thirds, I will split this model into thirds. And since this model was split into fourths, I will split this model into fourths as well. Then I need to write my equivalent fractions on the bottom. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 12 total boxes, because I have 3 going across, 4 going down. 3 times 4 is 12. Then I'm going to be subtracting 1, 2, 3 out of 12 as well. So 3/12. Then, just like always, I could probably just do this math in my head. I have 8 minus 3. 8 minus 3 is 5. And remember, my denominator stays the same, so my final answer is 5/12. But I like to show my work in my models as well. So to do that, I see how many boxes do I have in my second model. I have 1, 2, 3 boxes shaded in. So over here, I want to cross off 3 boxes. So to do that, I'll cross off 1, 2, 3, and then I'll count what I have left over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that gives me 5/12. And once we start getting into bigger models, it's really important that we try to, as best as possible, to neatly draw our models so that we can easily count what is left over and easily cross off what we need to. So if you need to, use a ruler for this lesson so that your models look really nice. All right, we are moving on to our very last problem together, and this problem is going to be on the back. It is number 4. And this model is going to be one of those that are going to be a kind of big model. So we have 1/2 minus 2/7. So first I need to show what a half is going to look like. So I cut it vertically and I shade in a half. And then I come over here and I need to show 2/7. So I need to split this into sevenths. And by now we're probably pros at this because we've done it so much. 4, 5, 6. And I need to shade in 2 of these parts because my numerator is 2. So there's 2/7 and there's a half. And now I need to find that common denominator. So I need to make sure both of my models look the same. So to do that, this one was cut in half. So this one needs to be cut in half, and then this one was cut into sevenths. So this one also needs to be cut into sevenths. So going across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Good. So now what I need to do, now that my models look the same and have that common denominator, I need to find that equivalent fraction. So I count the shaded in parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I have 7 out of 14. I know my denominator is 14 because I have 2 going across, 7 going down, and 7 times 2 is 14. Then I am going to be subtracting the equivalent fraction I find over here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 parts shaded in out of 14. And then I have to subtract 7 minus 4. Remember, we could probably do this in our head, which is fine. This will give us 3/14, but then I also want to show my work in my model. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes that I need to cross off. I know that because my second model has 4 boxes shaded in. So I'm going to come over here and cross off those 4 boxes. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you take a look at my model, I now have 1, 2, 3 boxes left over. And this is where maybe having a second color might help out because it is a little tricky to see the boxes and what's crossed off. So if it helps you, you can always use that separate or extra color to help you out a little bit. All right, so 5th grade, you're going to try the You Try problem now. And this one's going to be pretty tricky because you have to shade in 4/5 and 2/3 and then subtract from there. So make sure you're not only showing me your work numerically, but you're also showing me your work in the model as well. Once you're finished with the You Try problem, please make sure you check in with me, and then you'll get started on your problem set. Great job today, and good luck.